So anybody who doesn't don't know what's going on, Justin Trudeau canceled his tech mine because there was a native group of protesters protesting, saying it was environmentally unfriendly. Now, if they do think that it's environmentally unfriendly, they shouldn't have been burning tires and burning trees, unless they obviously thought they were sending smoke signals to Greta Thunberg. Now, Justin Trudeau, I'm sorry, you're a cumwat that should have been swallowed. You dealt with it in such a terrible way. Like, Alberta wants to exit for a good reason. Like, I understand Jason Kenney's not done very much. Like, I mean, he's cut funding services. You go to any kind of hospital, like I mentioned in my last video, I went into the hospital due to suicide ideation. I felt as though I actually had to leave the hospital feeling more suicidal. What they did was actually denied me fluids, and I have posted a video. It's called "I Live by the Bottle," where I talk about my struggle with nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, where you need to drink every half hour to every hour. So they denied me water. I had to walk to the bathroom to drink the water. The person beside me happened to be a native person who was withdrawing from drugs, and she got all the sandwiches. She got all juice, everything of that kind. So I was even denied food, and that was for 16 hours. I didn't get to eat. Now, obviously the coronavirus has a natural negative impact on oil and pretty much everything. But I mean, the thing is, Alberta is completely getting ignored, and the fact that BC and Alberta actually did not vote Liberal is a big concern. Now, I'm just gonna backtrack a bit. About a week ago, I was just on Instagram. Social media is kind of part of everyday life, and I was kind of perturbed by this group called Shades of Color YEG. Now, it's an Edmonton group which is provides support for trans people of color. Now, unfortunately, they were pro the rail blockades, and they were saying that pretty much white people are the only ones who are bad. Now, I kind of replied to them and said, stop marginalizing just white people. I mean, everybody has evil in them. Like, I'm all about what Thomas Hobbes said, that man is prone to evil. Now, they kind of blocked me, so, I mean, I really couldn't care less, because, I mean, that's just racism that I knew without, because the second you play victim, that's when people start to resent you. Now, Andrew Scheer did mention that natives should recognize privilege. Now, I'm not saying there are privilege. I mean, obviously what happened in the residential schools was awful, and the residential schools didn't close till maybe 93 or something, and a lot of terrible things have been done. But reconciliation is not really possible if you just believe in giving free handouts. I mean, I understand the treaties were signed, and it's considered the natives' land, but it's just that maybe we should absolve those treaties. I understand, the colonialism is just a part of life. My hometown of Africa, I mean, everyone's been colonized. I mean, minorities do not rule there. I mean, it's such a segregated area where there's rich and poor, and yeah, that's just the nature of life. Andrew Scheer is wrong when he says natives are privileged, because I mean, unfortunately, there's some, you can't marginalize one group. For example, one of my favorite managers I've ever worked under, he was a native. He was the store manager, and now he was one of the nicest people I knew. He was great with the customers. He was great with the staff. He actually gave a crap about people. And even in the celebrations of life, he was actually a leader. Everybody looked up to him. And we definitely need more role models like that. It's even the case, I gotta understand, natives get grants from the government to go to school for free. They don't have to pay tuition a lot of the time. But you know what, I actually support that, because I mean, it's they're bettering themselves. People have posted comments on my videos asking why I can't get government support, seeing as for example, yesterday I paid $355 for 3 out of my 4 medications, and that's just for a 3-month supply. Now, the thing is, while I was working, I was very fiscally responsible. I was also very parsimonious. I invested very well. I put aside most of my money into investments now. Because of that, actually I won't even receive a tax return. I'll be paying taxes again this year. But I was smart with my investments, and the government kind of sees that as, okay, this person's perfectly capable, even though it would help for just a leg up for a few months, because it's been 3 months and I've only had one interview, and it was one job for one job. I don't know how many hours it would give, but and 40 people were interviewed, and this is like what's considered the second interview actually, because I mean the first interview is the one where you apply, and then only a few are selected for the interview. So it's just ridiculous out here. Here I live in Edmonton, Alberta, and it's just ridiculous to find a job. Like considering it's been 3 months since I finally got my first interview, and this was at Walmart, mind you, a company that I don't know what it's like really to work there. I've only heard it depends, and that is the fact that the oil tech mine was cancelled because of these natives, which I strongly doubt was even the natives. I believe it actually happened to be the Tides Foundation paid protesters to actually protest it. Now, because I mean, if it's just the natives, I mean, natives need to realize. Like, I don't understand. Justin Trudeau said in his campaign that part of his plan is to reconcile with natives. Now, unfortunately, reconciliation is dead. It's not going to happen ever again. Like, they'll just keep wanting more and more, and there's nothing we can do, really. For example, Alberta Works, it may give a regular person, like, I shouldn't say regular person, but a non-Aboriginal person, $850 a month to live off, which is peanuts, but they do get their medication paid for. When it comes to a native, they will get over $1,100, and the marginalization, of course, makes people resent natives. It is just that, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that there are hardworking natives out there, that there are people who actually work, who try really hard. Again, back to the rail blockades. Like the rail blockades did cost farmers about $63 million for every week that there were rail blockades. So like whoever Justin Trudeau, the cumwad that should have been swallowed, like the fact that he just caved and didn't deal with it shows the signs that he's a weak leader. Andrew Scheer was absolutely right. He's a weak leader, and I hope whenever a conservative leader gets elected, he or she pushes for an election as fast as possible. Because I mean, Alberta has started this thing, weexit, and I absolutely agree with it. Even though at the moment we're not really financially in a great place, I don't like Premier Jason Kenney very much because of his cuts to Alberta Health Services. As I mentioned, I know this is kind of a garbled ramble, but yeah, I don't really like him. But it's just that I'm thinking back to 1995, like when Quebec had the referendum to separate or not, and if I remember correctly, I was 11 at the time, so 50.6 said no to separating, 49.4 said yes to separating, which is 1.2% difference. Now, just think about it, like Quebec is pretty much given everything from the government, like the government is non-stop, trying to reconcile with Quebec. So maybe Alberta should just do the same thing, because I mean, I'm thinking like, we're, as Michelle Rempel said, a silent fart in the world. Like the working class is screwed over. Like we can't make ends meet. And while Edmonton jobless rate is around 11%, and it's never been this bad. Probably around 34% of people don't actually have steady employment. Like are not able to pay their bills properly. A lot of kids actually, and this is considered a first world. I actually consider a third world country almost like Alberta itself, because healthcare is garbage. Pretty much everything's the economy is garbage. Like it's just terrible. Like Trudeau, I'm sorry, it's time for a vote of non-confidence. He's got to go. Something's got to give, because I mean, it's just socialism does not work. We need, and for all those who are on Alberta Works, just remember it's the Conservatives who actually put it in power. So, something's got to give. We have to not necessarily have to separate, but we have to actually make our voices heard.